We bring to you breaking news right at the top of the bulletin. This is Prime Minister Modi's direct anti-terror message to Donald Trump. Trump dials Modi on Diwali and gets cool. Stand against terror message to Donald Trump. Prime Minister Modi comes out to say, must fight all forms of terror. Not so subtle dig at the Trump-Pakistan tango. Well, spotlight is on Trump jihadi general embrace. This is what we are bringing to you right at the very top of this bulletin. We'll in fact even take you through what all has been said by Donald Trump as he spoke on his conversation, his telephonic conversation with the Prime Minister on the occasion of Diwali being observed in the White House.
People gathered on behalf of all Americans. Let me also extend our warmest wishes to the people of India. I just spoke to your Prime Minister today. We had a great conversation. We talk about trade. We talk about a lot of things, but mostly the world of trade. He's very interested in that. Although we did talk a little while ago about let's have no wars with Pakistan. And I think the fact that trade was involved, I was able to talk about that. And we have no war with Pakistan and India, and that was a very, very good thing. But he's a great person. And he's become a great friend of mine over the years. In a few moments, we'll light the diya as a symbol of faith in the victory of light over darkness. It's a beautiful term, light over darkness. That's what it's all about. Well, we stand great. And the people of India, I love the people of India. And we're working on some great deals between our countries. I spoke to the Prime Minister Modi today, as I mentioned before. And we just have a very good relationship. And he's not going to buy much oil from Russia. He wants to see that war end as much as I do. He wants to see the war end with Russia, Ukraine. And as you know, they're not going to be buying too much oil. So they've cut it way back, and they're continuing to cut it way back.
With that, Gaurav Sawant joins us on the broadcast to in fact bring in more perspective and insight to this very story that we have been bringing to you since this morning. Gaurav, a very good morning to you. First let's understand what's been said by the Prime Minister as a response to Donald Trump and his remarks. Firstly, yet again, Donald Trump makes the claim of taking credit for the India-Pakistan truce back in the month of May. And now, yet again, we see that Prime Minister schooling him that India and US should be fighting together against terrorism. How are we looking at these two comments at this given point?
It's a very significant statement made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What's equally significant is the fact that Donald Trump, there's a climb down where he says India will not buy much oil from Russia. From his initial statement that India will not buy any oil from Russia or words to that effect. So India has also made it very clear once again to the United States of America that India's energy security is critical for the people of our country. Point one. Point two, when Donald Trump is batting for Pakistan and saying that he hopes there will be no war between India and Pakistan, because post the 10th of May, Pakistan realized its nuclear bogey had been completely called out and America had to intervene on Pakistan's behalf. Prime Minister Narendra Modi very politely, very subtly and equally firmly has said that on this festival of lights, may our two great democracies continue to illuminate the world with hope and stand united against terrorism in all its forms. Now, the moment you talk about stand united against terrorism in all its forms, which means India expects the United States to do the right thing and not stand with the state sponsor of radical Islamist terror that's represented by Pakistan and its radical Islamist army chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir. Shreya.
Absolutely. Gaurav, what's very interesting here is the very message that's coming from Prime Minister Modi. And very rightly, as you also mentioned, it's a very polite and a subtle tone that's been used to ensure that yes, India and US are on the same page. Definitely, the relationship is there between, the bonhomie is there between the two nations. But at the same time, India is very firm on its stance. The two things, there was no third-party mediation, firstly, when we speak of the India-Pakistan ceasefire, and the fact that terrorism needs to be countered in all its form, as you were also mentioning, that US cannot be getting close to Pakistan and be saying that, we also stand with India and that India is a great friend to the United States at the same time. Those two don't go together.
As you very rightly pointed out, India has been firm throughout. It's the United States of America that's followed a blow hot, blow cold policy, hoping that India would buckle under pressure, and India has not buckled under pressure. There are consequences of not buckling under US pressure, but nobody would want to see India rise in the manner in which we are rising, and that is why, whether you have people who may try and one day call India a dead economy and look at the kind of trade and business deals that have happened, during Deepavali, the kind of trade that's happened, and the business deals that the United States is also looking forward to. And the fact that there's furious backpedaling on the H-1B visa threat issued by the United States of America, and then they realize that it will hurt US companies more. There are analysts and economists across the world telling Americans that they will suffer more because of their trade policies and their visa policies and the additional tariffs. So the United States is also looking for some kind of an exit, and it is expected when Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President and US President Donald Trump meet next week, on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit, there may be a positive outcome. At least that is the expectation. At the same time, India, whether we reduce our oil purchase from Russia or not, depending on what our requirements are, the fact that India is saying that we will continue to secure our energy needs from all of the 40 or 42 countries that India imports oil from, wherever we get the best rates. If you notice, there's a subtle shift even in the US stand from saying India will not buy any oil or words to that effect to saying India will not buy much oil. So, there is a subtle shift that's happening on all these flanks. Now, Pakistan, the support to Pakistan remains a big cause for concern for India, but that is something that India will deal with bilaterally, and especially post-Operation Sindoor. All indications are Pakistan will remain on the back foot. The manner in which India is sorting Pakistan out in more ways than one, and the fact that Afghanistan is also giving grief to Pakistan.
Absolutely. And Gaurav, I think in the last couple of months, it's gotten very clear that India has been, as we're saying this time and again, very firm on its stance, but it also shows how important India's voice is at this given point when we speak of the geopolitical landscape. Not only have we not buckled under pressure from the United States, be it whatever comment that's coming from the US president, but India has been firm, be it on the entire relationship or the war situation with Pakistan, be it on trade, we have, or be it on our oil purchase from Russia, we've been extremely clear that Indian interest comes first to India and everything else comes later.
You've actually hit the nail on its head. That's a very pertinent point that you make. Look, I've been covering counter-terror operations and Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror for over 3 decades. We've had situations where Pakistani terrorists attacked our parliament. The troops were massed on both sides of the border, and for 10 months they remained massed and no action took place. Not only when troops were massed at the borders, at that time Pakistan sent in terrorists and massacred army families at a military station called Kaluchak in 2002. Imagine, armies are massed at borders, they massacre army families, and including a 6-month-old child, and India is able to do nothing. From that to 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks where they massacre 166 in Mumbai, again, India does nothing. To Operation Sindoor, where you slam Murid Ke and Bahawalpur, 9 terror bases, 11 air bases, 6 radars, and then Pakistan comes crawling for a ceasefire. It just goes on to show who was putting American interests first earlier and who puts Indian interests first now. So it's very, very clear there's a marked departure in India's Pakistan policy, India's US policy, and it's holding India in good stead. Yes, there will be trouble, but then, when you fight for honor, when you fight for your country, and when you fight to keep India first, there will be a cost to pay, and that cost we may have to pay in times to come. And the Prime Minister is very clearly telling the US to ensure that they stand united against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, and that would include Pakistan state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. Remains to be seen whether that happens, but at least that hope is there, and at least Indian interests are being kept supreme right now.
Absolutely. Gaurav, thank you for putting forward your insights onto this very story at this given point. Viewers, this is what we are tracking. Prime Minister Modi's direct anti-terror message to Donald Trump at this point, to the United States, as well as Diwali greetings that's been exchanged by both the leaders.